Hi game devs, my name is Ken Thompson, and I'm a game designer and an educator. I've been lucky enough to do that for about the past 15 years. And sometimes people come up and ask me, what is a game designer? What is it that you do exactly? And well, I try to explain that a game designer is someone that creates a set of rules for a game, whether it's a board game or an interactive digital game. It's a place for us to create rules and then to have those rules interact in an interesting way. So I kind of compare it to cooking. For the most part, we all have access to the same ingredients, tomatoes, onions. In games, it's about cards or dice. There's bluffing and strategy. Those are our ingredients. And what we need to do is bring those ingredients into our game or into our dish. And then when we get them there, we have to apply technique and skill, thought and process to those ingredients the same way we do with cooking. Cooking, making sure that they're cut the right way and that they're cooked for the right amount of time and put in the right order. That the balance of salt and sugar is the same as the balance between fun and challenge. There's a certain balance that needs to be struck, and like cooking, games are ubiquitous. What I mean by that is everyone plays games, everyone makes games. And sometimes I get challenged by this by parents or sometimes new students as well. And they say, oh, I've never played a game or I've never made a game. But if you think back to when you were playing tag or making up rules for cops and robbers games, or if you're a parent and you're challenging your kids, hey, what if we go clean this room up in under a minute? And let's see who can do it the fastest. Well, that's a game, believe it or not. If you open up your weekly mailer from your grocery store, there is a whole game of quests there to go get a certain item and to get experience points for that item. There are games in every aspect of our life, even if we're not necessarily applying them in the most fun way. We play games with our pets, but also in the animal kingdom, we see games naturally occurring. We see the act of play occurring. And that's something that happens everywhere in every culture. And games have been around since the beginning of time in play, as well as in sport, as well as in religion. We see things in aspects of games in all these things across time. And that's why games are like sleeping or eating or intimacy. It's something that we do inherently. And that's why it's really fascinating for me to play and make games, is because of this inherent nature, this inherent need. And, that's when people ask me why do I make games? And, other than all those really awesome reasons that are, more theoretical, there's aspects of games that are really important to me. Specifically, when I think about games, I think about community. I think about when I started playing EverQuest, and I had a intergenerational guild that had veterans of war, that had teenagers like me. It had people of different creeds and nationalities all together working to interact and play across, the world. And that's one of the most amazing things that's excited me, was a place where I can just talk and engage and be part of a community. And that's something that I saw again as a volunteer at the Game Developers Conference, as an associate there, and also as an enforcer for Penny Arcade. And those communities have such a passion and vigor for giving other people wonderful experiences, not only in those organizations, but the people who come to PAX and who come to those video game conferences, and as well as the customers that have played my games over the years. Those have been the people who have brought happiness and excitement and have been enthusiastic and creative people. And that's one of the most amazing parts about games, is those kind of people are all over the game industry, all over gaming culture. So I think not only about community, but I also think about family. So when I grew up, we moved around a lot, and I remember playing games with my older brother and my younger brother. We used to play Dungeons and Dragons together. And that taught me, other than maybe some basic arithmetic, but also ad-libbing and how to tell a story, how to create a family moment that I'm going to remember forever. And not only did we play Dungeons and Dragons together, but also we played, we taught my little brother how to read using Lunar the Silver Star, which was a RPG game before the voiceover was common. And you had to know what was being said in order to figure out what you needed to do in the game. So, we would challenge him, hey, read it out loud, try it, and take your time. And we would help him with that, but we wouldn't read it for him. And that got him reading. It got him interested in reading. And that's how he learned. And I remember my da and I used to play board games. He was a poker player for the most part, but he would always play games with me, even the more esoteric ones. I remember bringing a game called Samurai Swords. It used to be called Shogun to him, and he couldn't make heads or tails of it, but he would play it with me and we would figure those rules out, and it was a really wonderful experience. And again, memories I'm gonna have forever. But not only memories I have from the past, I'm also creating memories with my husband. We play Overcooked together, Star Wars X-Wing tabletop, just a ton of different games that we play together all the time. And we're not just playing games with each other, but we're also playing with his family. His dad lives in Colorado and his mom lives in Virginia, yet all four of us come together to play Elder Scrolls Online. My mother-in-law is actually about 200 levels higher than me, so I've got to catch up. But that's just some of the most amazing parts about games, is that family can really matter and can create, and you can create those memories and experiences with each other. So ultimately though, games, they change your outlook for the better, that it gets everyone interested and engaged. You know, you might have had someone, a grumpy Gus, a taciturn fellow, they might have been playing games and you see that smile light up on their face for the first time for whatever the reason is, and you see them engaged. You've seen quiet people become the loudest person in the room because games bring that out, that fun, and to be different and to experiment. And games do that because it's a safe space. It's some place it's a place for us to experiment with our society's rules and values, and to see what they mean and how we fit into them, and how we interpret our life through, and how we can interpret our life is helped by playing games. Whether this is in MMOs, in which you're playing as a different gender, or just as a different personality and allowing you to experiment. And that's something that teenagers often go through and need to find safe places to experiment and be different people and understand who they are. In more of the real world, we've also got rules about punching and hitting, right? You're not allowed to hurt each other normally, but it seems like in boxing and MMA, things like that, those sports, if we erect a ring and we put a referee in the middle and everyone agrees on the rules, well, suddenly the thing that society normally says no to, we're really excited about. And it's okay to engage in some rule breaking as long as it is within the magic circle of that game. And that's one of the most amazing thing, is that there's that space for experimentation. And that's one of the things spaces allow you to do. It allows you to experiment and fail and create, and it challenges you to self-express. When I was younger, I didn't have enough money to play a popular tabletop game called Warhammer. It was a little too expensive and a lot of my friends had it. I remember one of the first games I made was a tabletop version. I borrowed a Warhammer book and I read through it. And then I grabbed my army men and I started trying to figure out, how can I make a game that's similar but allows me to play? And all my friends were willing to play it, and that was something they were interested in, and allowed me to engage with people even though I didn't have enough money or the right things. It was something that we all did together, and it was amazing time. Games touch people's lives, and so when people ask me, why do I make games? Well, so for me, I've always thought that you can't pick everything in life. A lot of things you're born to, but the things that you can pick and you can control are what job you do and who you work with. And those are the kind of things that make me excited to come to work every day. Not only the game development community, but also the gaming community, the people who engage and play games, as well as the students who come into my classrooms and think new and impossible things and engage in creativity. And that's why I started teaching, was I wanted to enable other people to bring their stories to life, create new experiences for others. And if you compare it to, say, like the movie industry, the game industry is relatively young. I think there are still Citizen Kanes and Seven Samurai movies yet to be made. There are still Kubricks and Spielbergs in high school waiting to get the skills and to experiment with new things, to make new experiences that we haven't even thought of yet. And that's what is really amazing about teaching, is being able to work with people and see that creativity day to day. And that enthusiasm and dedication of my students also challenges me to be a better game designer, because Education is a lot like games in the way that you're trying to create a scaffold of teaching someone, and it's not necessarily double jump. Sometimes it's how to model, but if you get too frustrated or if it's too easy, you lose interest. And games are in a similar vein. It's just a different application. So when I try to bring my game design into my classroom every chance I get, because games are also about learning. I love to learn. Every game is a new subject. Sometimes it's something silly or something from a comic book. So sometimes it's Captain America, but sometimes it's a really deep and important subject that I get to research. It's really awesome to be able to explore new worlds all the time, even if it's just a made-up fantasy one sometimes. In academia, we're challenged every day with creating a new and unique game, because ultimately, games are about culture, and we tell stories to help evaluate the world around us, and I'm really lucky to have the chance to make something interesting and impact the world. But that's why I make games. Why do you make games? What makes you excited about making something or playing something? Why do you game? I want to hear from you.